make book-related videos every single Wednesday, and as you can tell if you've been following me for the past few years, you'll recognize this background. It used to be the background for a lot of my videos is my high school bedroom. I'm back home for the holiday. I don't have my normal camera, so I'm filming on my iPhone, so if things look or sound a little bit weird, we're just gonna have to deal with it. But being here makes me a little nostalgic, so I just want to do a good old-fashioned tag video. I don't think I was tagged for this tag, but I'm also really bad at looking into those kinds of things. But I will make sure to put the original tag creator down below. I will say in advance, I'm in a little bit of a chatty mood, so feel free to just fast forward if you want. But first, I wanted to say, and if you follow me on Twitter, you're already aware of this, but I am going to BookNet Fest, and I'm going to be one of the panelists, and I just booked my flight and everything a couple hours ago. Last year going was one of the best weekends or just best days of 2017 for me. And I would say if you're nervous to go, even if you don't know a single other person there, you will bond with everybody so quickly just because there's something strange about all of us being obsessed with such a specific, unique thing. So 100% go and register if you haven't yet. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was for those of you who follow me because you love all things creepy and horror related. I don't know how to dive into this because there's a lot of backstory, but basically when I was about 2 years old, my mom had a doll made to look like me. It's not one of those American Girl dolls, it's just a doll that I think she actually designed and went somewhere and had it made. I don't know why, she just loves dolls. But so this doll, I actually don't think the Katie doll looks that creepy, but one of my friends was visiting here one weekend like a couple years ago and she's like, that doll is terrifying. Because at this point she's well over 20 years old, she has a crack down her face, she's kind of faded and just old looking. And so because my friend is so scared of it, it became a tradition that whenever she came over, my mom would scare, it's my two friends Sam and Caitlin, she would always put the doll in the car or she'd put the doll in their guest room where they were staying. So and then this weekend my friend Sam jokingly was like, why doesn't she just make an Instagram for the doll? So my mom actually really loved the idea and she went ahead and made one, and I wrote her out specific directions on how to make an Instagram post because she doesn't know how. So if any of you guys, so I will put the link to the Katie doll down below. She's having a lot of fun with it. I helped her with the first couple of posts. And today on July 4th, she did her first one all on her own, so she's very excited. So definitely leave comments, although I don't know if she knows how to reply to or like comments, but just know she's reading and enjoying anything any of you have to say. That's a much longer intro than I normally have, so let's go ahead and get into the questions. So the first question is, have you ever re-gifted a book that was given to you? Now, I don't think if it was a present from like one of my friends for Christmas or my birthday I ever have, but there have definitely been instances where, say, I'm sent a books box by PR. I've been on BookTube a while. There have been probably 5 different companies that have sent me book boxes, meaning there are multiple books inside, and I'll always showcase them, and sometimes I'm interested in all the books, sometimes there are 1 or 2 I'm not interested in, so I always donate them. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say that I don't keep every book that's sent to me, and again, I know this might sound a little odd, but the reason that companies often will send booktubers book boxes isn't necessarily so we sit down and read and review every book. Often it's just because they want to see an unboxing. But let me know what you guys think about that. But personally, I just don't want to have books sitting on my shelves that I'm fairly certain I'm not going to read, so I'd rather them go to a better home, and so that is why I tend to re-gift sometimes books that I've been sent. And the second question is, have you ever said you've read a book when you haven't? Of course, my answer for this is probably going to be the same as everybody else's, and that is that I would say 90% of the books in high school, middle school, undergrad that I said I read, I didn't. So it's probably easier to say the ones that I did actually read, and that was things like The Things They Carried. I remember in high school really enjoying that, and The Strangers. That ended up being one of my favorite books of all time, and I even reread that fairly recently. I'd be really curious to hear from you guys, because I know that's not a unique thing. Most of us don't actually read them. What were some of the books that you actually, gripped you and that you read the entire book in school? The next question is, have you ever borrowed a book and not returned it? Yes, and I don't know if I should show this because it technically was from my 2nd grade library, like the library within the school. I'll go grab it. Unfortunately, I can't find it, having trouble locating it, but basically because I moved so much growing up, my parents were in the military and now I move a lot for work. When I was in, I think it was the 1st or 2nd grade, I was obsessed with Japan, so I checked out, very stereotypically, a giant book on how to make origami and just never brought it back. And it's a fantastic book, but you know, I feel a little bad. The next question is, have you ever read a series out of order? And this is the only one that I don't really have an answer for. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of series. I prefer standalones, so I don't think that that's ever happened. Now this next question is the one that I have a lot to say about, and that is, have you ever spoiled a book for someone else? And I don't think so. I mean, there have been times where I've said things that I just don't consider spoilers, that people have been like, ah, you spoiled it for me, but I've never like ruined the ending or say twist to a mystery novel. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And I actually have a whole video on this called like BookTube spoiler phobia. And I don't actually remember what I said in that video because I'm too lazy to go back and actually rewatch it. For me at least, the only thing I really consider a spoiler that would genuinely upset me is if I'm in the middle of reading a mystery novel or a thriller and someone spoils the actual mystery and tells me what the ending is. That is the only thing that I personally would care about, because I really feel, and this is the part where I'm gonna get a little, not angry, but a little irritable, is the fact that I feel like there are two camps of people, and then of course some people in the middle. I think that there are people who are constantly like, oh my gosh, you just spoiled this for me, who constantly are telling people in their real life or booktubers or people online that are constantly angry because they feel like everybody is spoiling everything for them. And then there are other people who are constantly being told, oh, what you just told me I consider a spoiler, and they're, you know, the people who are spoiling things. This might be a little controversial, probably not, it shouldn't be, but I really think that if you are in that first camp, if you're one of the people angrily commenting 50 exclamation points on a booktuber's video saying that they spoiled some minor detail of the book for you, and now you're not going to read the book anymore, and now you're not going to listen to any more book reviews because you're so scared of being spoiled, I think you are the problem. And the reason I say this is, I have constantly seen so many people comment and say, whether in person or online, I'm not going to read or watch any book review unless I've already read the book because I'm so scared about being spoiled. And I think that attitude kind of spreads like wildfire, and then everybody else is like, oh, I don't think I should listen to book reviews unless I've read the book too. And you know what that does? It means that people aren't finding new books to read because they're not listening to book reviews. And I know that they could come across new books to read in tag videos or in book hauls, or just videos where people are mentioning like titles of videos and a bunch of books at once. But for me at least, if someone tells me a plot point and it's not, you know, the ending of the book, if it's some other plot point, I don't even care if it's 50% of the way into the book. If I had the attitude that hearing that made me not want to read the book and made me so angry, then the book probably wasn't even that good to begin with. Because again, and this is just my opinion, if I really love a book, I love it for the writing. It's not just like, oh, I like these few characters, I like some of the things that happen in the book. And again, I know that we all have different levels of what we consider spoilers, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but sometimes it feels like people are like almost hyping each other up to get upset about being spoiled about things that just really shouldn't matter that much. And again, if you don't want to watch book reviews because you think they're boring, I totally get it, that's totally fine. But if you're not watching book reviews just because you're scared about getting minor spoilers, then I think you need to calm down. But again, that's just me. The next question is, have you ever dog-eared a book? Yes, all the time, unless it's a library book or unless it's someone else's book. For example, I'm reading The Favorite Sister right now. This is the same author who wrote The Luckiest Girl Alive. I'm dog-earing it right here, mainly because so long as the cover isn't ripped off or pages aren't ripped out, I don't really care if the book has a little bit of wear and tear, that doesn't bother me. But the main reason is I tend to read in bed and I like to read until I fall asleep. So bookmarks aren't gonna work because I don't remember what page I left off on. And those little clips are just too much effort to deal with if I'm literally passing out. So just being able to mark exactly where I left off is the best for me. The next question is, have you ever told someone you don't own a book when you do? So I definitely did this with all of the Harry Potter books, especially as they were coming out. If I had a friend who was like, can I borrow them? You guys know how it is. Harry Potter books are just different than letting someone borrow any other book. One, they're so expensive. Weren't the last few books like $35, $40 each or something insane? And there's something just very special about them. So those I definitely told people multiple times. Yeah, I don't own it. I just borrowed it from the library. And the next question, have you ever told someone you haven't read a book when you have? Have you ever skipped a chapter or a section of a book? I'm gonna admit right now that a lot of books that I even review on BookTube, if I've said I thought they were really boring, that probably means there were some chapters that I skimmed. I know that Tender Morsels, if you remember me reading that for some reason years and years ago, that I skimmed a fair amount of it. But if I've skimmed like 25–50%, I definitely don't say that I've read it. But yeah, a lot of the books that I think are a little bit boring, that sometimes I even review on BookTube, I have skimmed little snippets of. And the last question is, have you ever badmouthed a book you actually liked? So the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, you guys know they're basically a really dark version of, if you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think you'd love these. The first 4 books are really good, and then the rest just become erotica, like just constant, like literally sometimes 15 sex scenes in a book, and it is related to the plot, but And there have definitely been lots of instances where I've talked down about them on my channel, but realistically, I don't mind reading sex scenes, so it doesn't actually upset me, and I don't think that they're bad books. I do think her writing went down a hill a little bit and that they should have stopped at maybe book 10. But yeah, I've definitely badmouthed them to the degree that it probably seems like I dislike them more than I do. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, definitely register for BookNet Fest down in Orlando if you can make it. The flights are insanely cheap if you are going to be flying in. That's why they selected Orlando as the location. I will also have the Instagram for the Katie doll down below, so make sure to follow, like the post, make a little comment. It'll make my mom's day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday.